I have a 9-hour drive ahead of me, and on this consequential day, those 9 hours feel like torture. My dad just retired, and I'm heading to New Mexico to supervise a crew installing insulation in the home he's building. Most of the structure was built over the summer, so this is the last bit of work that can be completed before winter. As I'm driving, my thoughts vacillate between endless inevitabilities. My ballot was already cast, but millions of others could and will have a profound impact on my life and those around me. To a lot of people, this seemed like a simple binary choice, including myself. However, the end result of that binary choice will have far-reaching impacts on nearly every facet of my life. I'm a small business owner with employees. The success or failure of my business not only will personally impact me, but anyone involved and their families. Economic strain from the pandemic was long-lasting, but we survived barely. However, survival meant taking on business debt to keep vendors paid and payroll processed. I'm pragmatic, so in my view, I did what I believe most business owners should do. Employees have to come first. I cut my own pay to make sure others could weather the storm. Certain economic proposals could either prove to greatly help my business or harm it. Little did I know what the next year would have in store. So now let's bring it back to the year 2025. As of filming this, it's September 20th. And nonetheless, it's been a very challenging and interesting 9 months. So in January, before the inauguration, I had to make a very difficult decision. So I looked at all of the details and data that I could about my business, and I saw that I was going to have maybe like a 20 to 30% decrease in sales this year. Not for the lack of trying to sell things or try to find other ways to improve my business, but just the theory I had that tariffs would actually create an enormous drag on my business. Unfortunately, that drag on my business was actually underestimated. So like I said, I estimated like a 20 to 30% decrease in sales. The reality is it's closer to 40 to 50%. So at that time, I had to make a decision, and in trying to preserve my livelihood and business, I had to downsize. That meant getting rid of various expenses, including looking at things like payroll, building expenses like for my commercial lease, services I'm paying for. And I had to lay people off, and I made a deal with my commercial landlord at the time to actually exit early from the lease. So that meant kind of thinking outside of the box, and I went from having a roughly 3,000 square foot commercial warehouse to basically running my business out of a large storage unit in my house. And it wasn't really an ideal decision to make. I didn't want to have to go down this path, but ultimately I was forced to do so because I knew what tariffs would do. So let's talk a little bit about that. I don't want to get into a lot of details about what I do for a lot of reasons. I sell some consumer goods, and I buy them from a bunch of different suppliers. So when tariffs started taking into effect and the uncertainty of that, it meant that a lot of my vendors on average had about a 15 to 20% wholesale price increase, which meant I had to increase my prices too. And as you can imagine, when you increase prices of goods, it reduces demand. So that's partially where a lot of the sale decrease I've experienced has come from. So why am I saying this on this channel? Well, ultimately, that's why it's been pretty much a year since I put out my last video. I've had so much time and energy focused into actually trying to just keep my business alive so I can get my bills paid and keep vendors paid this entire time. And then on top of that, because I opted to not stay in my commercial warehouse space, I had to move everything. And that in itself was an ordeal. Between January and April, it was pretty much go time. I had to move all of my inventory out of the warehouse. I had to figure out exactly what I was going to do to store the remainder of the inventory. I had to look at what was remaining to either donate to charity or to just sell like at a discount or throw out. And pretty much for the 4 months straight, we were between my wife and I, we were working 12-hour days very much consistently. It was very exhausting. It was a very strenuous process. And because money was tight, we were trying to do all of it ourselves. And now I'm just kind of getting to the point where I feel like I might be comfortable enough again where, maybe not financially, but comfortable enough again that I might be able to start working on making content again. And the thing that has irritated me the most as a YouTuber and on this journey I've been on was there were some people that I was following very early on that were kind of like parallel to me, where they were making the same kind of content and we like subscribed to each other and we were just kind of following our, what we were doing and, interacting on each other's videos. And some of those people, they just kind of, they fell off, they stopped making content, they stopped doing anything. There was no, no communication. And, over this time period, I have heard from a few people that watch my content and still watch like what I have on there, and have messaged me either on like Instagram or other avenues, and they've just been kind of wondering like, what's going on? Why hasn't anything happened? So now that I've kind of detailed exactly why I haven't been able to do anything, I kind of want to talk a little bit about the future. I don't have any solid plans yet, but one of the challenges with this channel with Backroad Oddities is either there's a lot of miles I have to drive, or I'm running out of local content. There's not really a whole lot of stuff near me, at least that hasn't either been already excessively videoed or that's not really that interesting, So I still want to make content here for Backroad Oddities, but the challenge is if I can't find anything that is going to really make anything decent, like my last video in September of last year was at like an air park, and I was hoping that it would get more views than what it did, and it just fell flat. And kind of looking back on it, I know why. And my thought process at the time was, I wanted to go out like maybe like every other weekend, find stuff to film, and try to get enough content to make like 2 or 3 videos. So that way I had maybe a more consistent upload schedule. Problem with that was I was just exhausting everything in my area, and I didn't really have the ability to focus on the subject at hand to make anything super in-depth. So instead, going forward, at least for this channel, I want to focus on quality over quantity. So if I do run across an interesting location, whether it be an abandoned location, a historical location, anything like that, I will film it and I will put out, an in-depth video. I think kind of more for this channel, what I think makes for more interesting content is actually finding stuff that has a historical background, going into that historical background, doing in-depth research. And it's kind of hard to do that when you're trying to focus on putting out a video every week. So I think for here on Backroad Oddities, I would like to target maybe like one video a month, but having one video a month that is actually higher quality seems like it might be a better outcome. Now, I know that there are some of you that have subscribed and watched me for some of my other outdoor content, and I've talked about this in the past. What I'm going to do is I will create a new channel for that stuff, and when that time comes, I will put out an announcement about it, so anybody who's interested in that can go and subscribe to that other channel. Now, with the outdoor content, I want to get back into doing the truck camping, hikes, maybe some campground reviews or location reviews, that type of thing. And I'm hoping that I can get that to the point where maybe it's like a bi-weekly thing. But time will tell, and it's going to have to really depend on what the situation looks like with my business and with the economy. If things get much worse, I don't know. I hope that's not going to be the case, but without getting too political about it, we'll have to watch and see. So I wish I had like a bigger, grander message or some definitive plans to share, but at some point I will have another update video. I do have something that I am working on for Backroad Oddities. I think something that will be interesting, but it is a video that is going to require a little bit more research and probably a little bit more filming than what I have already have. So stay tuned on that, I guess, because it'll probably be like maybe I want to target like a longer, like 30 or 40 minute video on this subject, but I don't want to spoil it. So I'm hoping that I can get that done maybe for next month. That would be nice. But until next time, I just wanted to update everybody, and I'm still here. I'm planning on doing things, and I hope that I can get back to some sort of schedule. But now that you know, and until next time, see you later.